I am Maria. I am 52 years old. And the night everything cracked open began with a ringing phone and the taste of cold coffee I forgot to drink. I was standing in my kitchen staring at the glow of my phone like it was judging me. My hands shaking because a message had just landed that did not belong to me. It belonged to my pregnant daughter, and it showed a truth I was never meant to see. My son-in-law had promised me he would protect her with his life. He said it with a straight face and a firm handshake. He said it when I trusted him. And now at midnight, on a yacht, floating like a lie on dark water, he shattered that promise. I raised my daughter alone after her father walked away. I worked double shifts, skipped vacations, smiled through exhaustion. I taught her to trust carefully. Yet I let this man into our lives, and that failure sits heavy in my chest. I remember the day he proposed. The way he smiled like a hero from a movie, the way my daughter glowed 6 months pregnant now, and fragile in ways only a mother understands that night. I felt something was wrong before the phone rang, a tight pressure behind my eyes, a warning. I ignored when I saw the message, my breath caught, the photo was blurred but clear enough, lights on. Water, laughter that did not belong to family, his arm where it should not be. I felt betrayed, not just as a mother but as a woman who knows how men lie with confidence. My mind raced through memories. The borrowed money he never returned. The sudden business trips, the way he dodged questions. I realized this was not a mistake. This was a pattern, and my daughter was trapped in the middle while carrying a new life. Anger rose fast and sharp, but fear followed. How do I protect her now? Do I expose him and risk breaking her heart, or stay silent and let the damage grow? My age has taught me that silence is also a choice with consequences. I grabbed my coat and keys without thinking. The night air felt heavy as I stepped outside. Because a mother does not pause when her child is in danger. And before this story goes any further, subscribe to this channel for real stories that pull back the curtain on trust and betrayal. As I drove toward the marina with my heart pounding louder than the engine, one thought burned through everything else. When I step onto that yacht, nothing in our lives will ever be the same, and you will want to know what happens next. Looking back, my life before that night was built on routines and quiet compromises. I worked as an office manager at a shipping company where loyalty mattered more than talent. Or so I believed, until younger voices started passing me by and promotions went to smiles instead of experience. At home I was the steady one, the fixer, the woman everyone called when something broke. My daughter trusted me with every secret since she was a child, and that bond was my greatest pride and my greatest weakness. Her husband came into our world like a solution. Charming, confident, well-dressed. Always talking about big plans on water, and business deals that sounded impressive but never clear. My friends were split on him. Some adored his confidence. Others warned me that smooth words often hide sharp edges. I ignored the warnings because I wanted my daughter safe and happy. Because I wanted to believe I had finally chosen right. My sister was less kind. She reminded me of past mistakes. The boyfriend I defended years ago who vanished with borrowed money. The partner I trusted at work who took credit for my ideas. She said I had a pattern of trusting too much, and that thought followed me more than I liked to admit. At family dinners there was laughter but also pauses, moments when his smile arrived a second too late, moments when my daughter touched her belly and looked tired instead of excited. I noticed how he spoke for her, finished her sentences, brushed off concerns like they were jokes. At work I saw the same behavior in executives who controlled through charm, and that mirror made me uneasy. My closest friend from college tried to warn me gently. She said protection is proven through consistency, not promises. I nodded but stayed silent. Deep down I feared admitting the truth because it would mean I failed my daughter again. Professionally I felt invisible. Personally I felt responsible. Those feelings tangled together and made me hesitate when I should have acted. Now with a child on the way, the stakes felt heavier. My daughter needed peace, not chaos, but peace built on lies never lasts. I kept replaying conversations, his sudden interest in boats, the late nights. The way money flowed out faster than it came in. I wondered who else knew and stayed quiet. Who benefited from pretending everything was fine? I sensed that this betrayal was not isolated. It was connected to choices I made long ago. To silence, I accepted. To fear of conflict. As I drove through the dark streets that night, I understood that confronting him might cost me my daughter's trust if I handled it wrong. But doing nothing could cost her future. The realization settled slowly and painfully. Whatever waited ahead would force me to choose between comfort and truth. And I knew from experience that truth never comes without a price. The first real turning point did not happen on the yacht itself but in the quiet moment just before. When my phone buzzed again and my heart told me to stop while my instincts screamed to go faster. Another message appeared from a number I did not recognize. Short and careful, saying I should turn back and think about my daughter's stress. That warning felt less like concern and more like control. And suddenly the betrayal felt larger than one man and one night. It felt organized. My mind raced with doubt. What if I misunderstood everything? What if confronting him pushed my daughter into early labor? What if I became the villain in her story instead of her shield? Yet every mile I drove brought back the image of that blurred photo and the lies hidden inside it. Pressure came from all sides at once. My sister called and told me to wait until morning. My friend texted that rich men protect each other and poor women pay the price. Even my boss left a voicemail asking why I was distracted at work lately, as if my personal life was an inconvenience to manage quietly. Inside my chest, fear and anger wrestled for control. Fear told me to protect peace at any cost. Anger told me peace without truth was poison. When I finally reached the marina, I sat in my car and watched the water reflect false calm. The yacht lights flickered in the distance like a stage, waiting for actors. I thought about my daughter sleeping somewhere unaware, trusting a promise that had already cracked. I thought about the baby who deserved honesty before comfort. A security guard walked past and glanced at me, too long, reminding me I did not belong in that world of polished decks and whispered deals. My phone buzzed again, and this time it was my daughter asking if everything was fine. My hands shook as I typed back yes. And that lie hurt more than any truth I had seen so far. Standing there, I realized the dilemma was not just exposing her husband, it was choosing the moment and the method. If I rushed in, I could cause damage I could never undo. If I waited, I might lose the only chance to catch the truth in motion. Footsteps echoed on the dock, and I recognized his laugh drifting across the water. Light and careless, my stomach turned. Doubt tried one last time to stop me, whispering that maybe this was none of my business anymore, that my role as protector had expired now that she was married. But motherhood does not end with paperwork, it sharpens when stakes rise. I stepped out of the car and felt the cold air hit my face like a warning slap. Every choice from this moment forward would reshape our lives. And, as I moved closer to the yacht with my heart pounding and my mind split between fear and resolve, I knew I was about to cross a line that could never be uncrossed. And the truth waiting ahead was already pulling me toward it. My phone kept vibrating with missed calls as if the world sensed I was about to break an agreement. I never signed. The yacht crew looked at me with polite suspicion and asked who I was there to see. I gave his name and watched their expressions tighten just a little, enough to tell me I was not expected. Money was everywhere in small details, polished railings, soft lighting, quiet efficiency, and I felt the weight of my plain coat and cheaper shoes like a mark against me. Inside my head, doubts crashed together. Was I about to humiliate my daughter publicly? Was I about to ruin her financial security? Because I knew she relied on him now more than she admitted. He handled accounts, investments, plans for the baby future. And if those plans were built on lies, then exposing him could pull the ground out from under her feet. I saw him through the glass, laughing with people I did not recognize. Powerful faces, confident gestures, the kind of crowd that closes ranks when threatened. My presence alone shifted the air. One woman glanced at me and whispered. Another man frowned like I had interrupted a private performance. When he finally noticed me, his smile froze. Not guilt, not shock, calculation. He stepped toward me and spoke low, telling me this was not the place, telling me I was overreacting, telling me my daughter needed calm, not drama. Manipulation wrapped in concern, and for one painful second it almost worked, because I remembered my daughter's tired eyes and swollen feet, and I hated myself for bringing chaos closer to her. Then he mentioned money, casually reminding me how much he had invested for the family, how fragile everything could become if rumors started. Fear crawled up my spine, but anger burned hotter, because threats dressed as advice are still threats. The twist did not come with shouting or exposure but with a quiet file that landed in my inbox just before dawn, sent from an address labeled unknown. I sat in my car, unable to drive as the marina lights dimmed and the world slowed. The file opened to bank statements, contracts, and emails that rewrote everything I thought I knew. The yacht was not a luxury splurge but a moving office. The midnight meetings were not random betrayals but scheduled transactions. And the biggest shock cut deeper than infidelity. My son-in-law was not just lying to my daughter. He was positioning her as collateral. The documents showed her name tied to loans she never approved, her signature copied with terrifying precision, her savings funneled into shell companies that vanished offshore. My breath caught as I scrolled and saw dates that matched moments I remembered clearly. The night he offered to handle paperwork so she could rest. The weekend he insisted on a surprise getaway while accounts were drained. The promises of protection suddenly looked like a cage built carefully over time. Shock hit first, a numb pressure that made the world feel distant. Then disbelief followed fast. I wanted to believe this was fake, a setup, a cruel trick. But the numbers aligned too perfectly. The language matched his voice, smooth and confident. The resolve came last, and it burned steady, because this was not a mistake or temptation. This was a plan that needed my daughter pregnant, distracted, trusting. I realized the warning messages, the pressure to stay quiet, the reminders of money and reputation were all part of keeping the scheme invisible. My hands trembled as I noticed one email referencing a contingency if family interference occurred. My role, anticipated and neutralized before. I even acted disappointment, washed over me, not just in him but in myself, for missing signs I should have seen. The pauses at dinner, the urgency around finances, the way he isolated her from advice that was not his. I felt grief for the life she thought she was building, and fear for what would happen if this truth surfaced the wrong way. Exposing him could freeze accounts, trigger lawsuits, drag my daughter into stress she did not deserve. Yet hiding this would let him tighten control further. The revelation reframed every choice ahead. This was no longer about confronting a man on a yacht. It was about dismantling a trap without snapping it shut on my child. Dawn crept in as I closed the file and sat in silence. My phone buzzed with a message from him asking if we could talk calmly later. The audacity of calm after calculated harm made my jaw clench. I did not reply. Instead, I stared at the water and understood the fight would require patience, proof, and allies I had not yet chosen. The truth was out, but the path forward was dangerous. And as the sun rose over the marina, I knew the next move had to be perfect. Because one wrong step could cost my daughter everything. I parked at the edge of the marina, the dawn lights stretching across water that no longer looked calm but like a mirror holding every lie. My hands clutched the files, my heart racing with every possible outcome. I had to decide. Expose him immediately, and risk shattering my daughter's world. Or wait, and gather proof so airtight that no one could twist the truth against her. I thought about the nights she trusted him completely. The way she smiled at plans he made, the way she rested while he claimed he handled everything. If I acted too fast, it would look like an attack. But if I waited too long, he could move the money, erase evidence, or push her further into dependence. My mind ran through conversations, warnings from friends, the cautious advice from my sister who always expected betrayal, each voice competing against my instincts. The weight of motherhood pressed down harder than fear. This was not just about anger, it was about protection. About choosing a path that preserved her life, her dignity, and her future. I took a deep breath, the air cold but clear, and decided I would build a case first, quietly, without alerting him. I would secure the financial records, contact legal counsel under anonymity, gather allies who understood the stakes without dragging my daughter into panic. It was the slower path, frustrating, emotionally exhausting, but it carried the best chance of safety. I knew consequences would follow either choice. Delaying could allow him to manipulate further. Exposing too soon could irreparably damage my relationship with my daughter. I accepted both risks because I had no other option. The files felt heavier in my hands now, a tangible reminder of what was at stake. And as I drove away from the marina, I felt a strange mixture of resolve and dread. The first step had been taken, and already I could imagine the chain reaction. The calls, the questions, the tension building around him once I had enough proof. I imagined her face when she realized the truth would be revealed, carefully, shielded from panic until she was ready. I imagined him confronting reality and realizing control was slipping. That for the first time he could not manipulate outcomes. I felt anger flare at the audacity of his deceit, but also calm. A rare calm that comes from having a plan and understanding the cost. The choice to act with patience gave me power I never had before, and yet the uncertainty remained. Because a fight of this scale never allows guarantees. Every step forward could trigger a reaction I did not expect, a twist I could not prevent. I would have to move with caution and courage in equal measure. And as I reached home, I placed the files on the table, looked at the sleeping city outside, and whispered to myself that this was the moment when everything changed. The line between victim and protector had been drawn. The stakes were clear, and from this day forward no promise, no manipulation, no lie would dictate our lives again. And still, I wondered what he would do when he realized the first move had been made without his knowledge. Looking back, I see now that the hardest lessons come not from what others do to us, but from what we allow ourselves to ignore. I learned that trust is fragile and must be earned daily, that promises, no matter how beautifully spoken, are worthless without action. I realized that protecting someone we love sometimes means stepping into uncomfortable territory, making choices that carry risk and sleepless nights. I learned that patience can be more powerful than anger, that careful planning often prevents more harm than immediate confrontation, and that even in the darkest moments we have the ability to choose how we respond. I watched my daughter slowly understand the truth in ways she could handle, her gratitude mixed with shock and sadness. And I felt pride in knowing that I acted for her, not against her. I reflected on boundaries. The line between helping and controlling, the line between silence and action. I understood that my responsibility was to guide, protect, and empower, not to force decisions on her. I realized that facing betrayal teaches resilience, that disappointment can sharpen clarity, and that courage is not the absence of fear but the decision to move forward despite it. As I sipped tea in the quiet of the living room, I thought about the choices still ahead, about the work needed to repair trust and build security, and I understood that every decision, every careful step, mattered more than words ever could. I thought about the people in my life who warned me, the voices I almost ignored, and I wondered if they had been right all along. Yet the story had a resolution because I acted with intent. And nothing more could change the past. I thought about him and the path he would now take, powerless to manipulate what I had set in motion, and I accepted that his betrayal, while painful, could no longer define my daughter or me. I reflected on my own mistakes, the moments I missed signs, the hesitation born from fear, and I promised myself that going forward I would trust my instincts sooner and speak clearly without hesitation. I thought about the balance of love and vigilance, the way a parent can guide without suffocating, protect without controlling, and I felt a quiet satisfaction in knowing I had navigated that line as best as I could. The lesson I carry now is simple but powerful. Trust cautiously, act decisively, and never underestimate the power of preparation. I look at the future with both caution and hope, knowing that challenges will come but that clarity, courage, and careful action will always guide the way. And now I turn to you, as someone listening to this story, and I ask, what would you have done in my place, when love, trust, and betrayal collided on a night that could have destroyed everything? Would you wait, would you act, or would you find a way to protect without destroying? Because in the end, our choices define not only the outcome but the strength and wisdom we carry into the next chapter of life.